Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I do so love it when contractors come up here and take my quotes out of context. But for a non-lawyer, that is an excellent lawyer technique. And I'm sure many of my colleagues appreciate you in your practice of law unauthorized. My quote from the committee was talking about the fact that this bill, even in committee, as problems arose, Senator Broom has worked diligently to try to address every concern that's come to her. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue is this. It is a fact that you have women, you have spouses that are abused who are trying to escape abusers and move into apartments or condominiums alone with their children to escape their abuser. It is also a fact that that abuser, who is not necessarily on the lease, will show up, kick in that door, and beat that spouse or woman who escaped them. It is also a fact that that spouse who's just been beaten, having escaped her battering spouse, will then be evicted from the apartment she just moved into for doing nothing wrong. My quote, which was taken out of the context, meant to address this issue. This bill, like every bill, is not a perfect instrument. But what I will tell you is this. There is a definitive distinction between individuals who try to help you amend your bill to address a concern. Senator Nevers amended my previous bill to make it a better instrument, and I appreciate that. However, we all know there are people who will come to committee and say, I'm opposed to this bill because there's 2 or 3 problems. And then when you fix those 2 or 3 problems, there's 2 or 3 new problems. And there's perpetual problems because they just don't like the bill. If you don't like the bill, don't waste the author's time. Senator Broom has spent a week, because she deferred this bill last week, meeting with anyone who wanted to meet with her to try and address the concerns. Today on the floor, as people brought up concerns, she further amended the bill to address concerns. You have an author who is more than willing throughout this process to consider reasonable amendments. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, we vote on issues all the time with bills that go through the process as imperfect instruments to address significant issues. The numbers dealing with domestic violence in the state of Louisiana are staggering. They are staggering and they're unconscionable. And at the end of the day, when you hear these numbers, when you hear that from the Greater New Orleans Fair Housing Center, that over half of families, small families, a single mom with kids who are homeless fleeing abusers. We as a legislature have to make the decision, do we move this instrument through the process with an author who's shown a commitment to address concerns as they come up, to make a stand and a statement that we stand with these women who are being abused and trying to find a safe haven to move forward. It is also a fact that our domestic violence shelters do not have enough slots for people who show up to them. And if you have people willing to pay rent, we're not talking about a giver, we're talking about people paying the rent that is asked. If you have people trying to pay rent to live, fleeing a spouse, it is very difficult to rationalize that it's simply not someone's problem if a spouse shows up to an apartment where they don't live and abuse someone. That person should be put out on the street. It might be your right as a landlord to do that, but I would certainly say, and I do this very sparingly, that as a moral person, that is something that we should advocate or allow. So I encourage you to vote for this bill. I encourage you to have faith in Senator Broom that she will continue to work on this bill throughout the process. And thank you so much.
All right, sir.